Morning, morning. Hello, everyone. You are the first people I speak to when I get up. More to the point, I got up for you. Hope you're all well. Another midweek stream. Again, talking about the recent videos. Fire your questions at me. If you're here during the live stream, make sure that you add a couple of brightly colored emojis, preferably in yellow, something bright, because I read them on a black background. And I'll try and get to your questions. I'll pop out your chat now, just so I can read them a lot easier. Hello to all the regulars. You know, sometimes when people change their emojis, it disorientates me. I have to relate them to their name, and it happens on Discord quite a bit. You can change your emoji, you can change your name. I think, look, to be fair, I've done it on my channel once or twice, but it's I'm a visual person, and I usually relate the two things together. For instance, David P's image and name has never changed as far as I can tell, but other people change every now and then. Anyway, hello to everyone. Darren, Feral Android, Vero. Okay. All right. While you guys come up with any questions you want to ask me, I'll get to some of the more notable comments and things I wanted to talk about related to the recent videos. Last night I posed the question in the community tab. And the question was, because the world is hard, do we as guys actually look at women with rose-colored glasses as some sort of optimistic relief? Just so we get some sort of reprieve from, you know, how either bland, sort of rudimentary, and even hard and difficult the world is. I mean, there's the cliche, life is unfair, the world is unfair. And women are just another part of that. And I'm not just, I mean, life can be great, women can be great, but I think we sort of optimistically look at every woman out there. And especially today, because we live socially online, that what we think without even interacting is what we optimistically believe. Our fairy tale is what we believe. We really need to get interested in the boring with people to get a better sense of reality, I think. Because now, along with you know, trying to be noticed in thumbnails and titles and doing these stupid ostentatious TikTok videos, basically look at me, look at me, look at me. The actual substance of what someone is doesn't matter. And so it makes it even worse for people to feel empty and used and betrayed and things like that, because we are just kind of mesmerized by the entertainment of somebody. So it's something sort of worrying. We don't aspire to the everyday anymore. We aspire to the curated profile picture, someone making up a story about themselves. Everyone's got some sort of story. What setting have I got on? No wonder. Okay. Yeah, there we go. That's better. I was wondering why I had it on HLG. Some of you guys will not know what that is. I need to adjust some of this, but it's a darker picture profile. Look how orange I am. Sorry, guys. I was trying to get this working. Okay. Good enough? No? I don't like this lot. Let's try an old faithful one. Oof. Terrible. Terrible. All right. Okay. Let's just go back and be done with it. All right. Okay. Okay. Iron Yuppie asks, can a man love a woman without being in love with her? Is it either he's... I don't even know if I can say that word. Is he either drugged up or not? I think the best we can do, like anything in life, is we can't jump to trusting someone before it's rational. So, you know, in the same way you can be a friend and really care about your friend before you trust them and love them and, you know, embrace them. So I think there's a way of not coldly being with someone. I don't think that's the right word, but kind of civilly having a good time with a friend before you decide to permit them into all of your life. So I know that for many people, they have this all or nothing switch, but I think that's where it can screw many people up. And it's really tempting. Oh, that looks good. Quickly jump at it. And today online, everyone's trying to sell you that way. Quick, grab it before it's gone. It's that sales mentality where you have to sort of purchase quickly without thinking. And it's very risky because you don't know if you're going to make a mistake. You're fighting everyone else for it. It's like it's the last item on the shelf. You better grab it. Don't think about it. But as I can't remember who I heard it from recently, but they said, if you pressure me, it's a no. If you let me think about it, it's a maybe. And I think that's a good piece of advice. Whenever you feel pressured, whenever you feel like, oh, this thing's going to run off the shelf, I better buy it because I don't want it to go away. A person shouldn't be pressuring you that way. You know, if you're with someone and there's kind of this really quick time frame where you better grab them, otherwise they're leaving because they want someone else to grab them, that's not a good sign. And we kind of know that. So in answer to your question, can a man love a woman without being in love with her? It's kind of like semantically dancing around that. But basically, I don't think you should have your definition of what love means to you. And for me, it's really based on virtue. And if you're with this person as a friend, like you really like them, but you're not going to commit to saying, okay, let's be exclusive, let's be a committed couple, let's move in together, let's whatever, you know, your parameters of life of being with someone, like you might want to get married and have kids. I don't know, you do you. But don't go to the next serious stage before discussing it and making sure it's your decision, because the worst thing that can happen is, and it's happened to me, where the girl has more or less blackmailed you. If you feel like you're being blackmailed, that's not a good sign. Again, we all know this, but it's happened to many of us before, me included. So, yeah, I think, and people believe this too much these days. I've talked to guys, you know, I keep women at a distance, I pump and dump, and then I'm out of there because if I get feels, I'm done. You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be. Are you that way with your friends? If you are, you really need to change that. Do you let people walk all over you in other parts of life? If not, why can't you apply that same thing women. And if you can't, you need to look at, is it something to do with childhood, the relationship you had with your mother? All of these are important things to consider and look at. Why are you so different around women? And you need to fix that for your own good. You can't just say, well, that's the way I am. And the amount of people that proudly stand on, well, that's just the way I am, and they know it's suboptimal. Change it. Modify it. If you just begrudgingly just, oh, well, that's just the way I am, and you don't really like that about yourself, and you know you can change it with just deciding to, and it might be more difficult than other people because you might have it ingrained more than other people, but it's just because you're lazy, you're better off doing it. If you don't have the self-interest to take care of yourself in that way, other people aren't. It's not just women. The world is going to walk all over you. So treat yourself well, and when you do, you can start recognizing when someone else doesn't. That's the beautiful thing about it. All right, seems like my volume is good. Thank you, people, for getting back to me. Emmett says, is it love if a man is chosen as the clock is ticking for a woman? Well, again, I keep repeating that we need to, for our own sake, have our eyes open. We need to be very sober and clear and say what we mean, not hold anything back because she's pretty and we don't want her to go away and pick someone else. We need to be, as much as possible, we need to operate not in a cold way where, you know, we're the employer and we're looking if we're going to hire this woman. That's kind of very egotistical. Sorry. It's more that very calm friendship mode where you're meeting a person and you're saying everything that's on your mind, and when you ask a question, if they say, well, I don't want to talk about that, you can tell they're avoidant. They don't give you answers. They contradict themselves. You need to pay attention. And if they keep being avoidant and they're being coy and they're being secretive and they're holding you at a distance and they're holding back, you need to keep voicing that and asking questions. And then if you don't feel comfortable, there is a reason, and you shouldn't live in discomfort for that long. At the start, yeah, because you don't know the person yet. It could just be that you haven't figured them out yet. You haven't got a good sense about them. But usually within the first or second date or something, like you should either get a good feeling or an uncomfortable feeling. You may want them. Visually, your biology wants them. It wants you to reproduce. But you should hold them back as much as possible. Some people do a good job of taking sex off the table, just to kind of vet to see if there's any personality that they're compatible with on that date. If you can do that, that's great. I've done that in my past once or twice where, in a joking way, I could tell, like, if the conversation was centered around, you know, just, people just want to sleep with each other and I'm trying to find someone serious. I just say, oh, me too. Let's just take sex off the table. I don't want to sleep with you at all. Like, let's see if we like each other's personality. And it's funny that a lot of times they don't have anything to say because they've never been in this position where, okay, now what do I say? Like, I can't flirt, because flirting suggests a lot of the physical, like the wink wink kind of blushing, and it's all got to do with leaning towards the bedroom. But when you say, like, no, that's not going to happen at all it is friendship. Let's just see if we can be friends. Let's see if we actually match. And a lot of times they're not used to, because that means, okay, now I've got to talk. So, okay, the poll was, because the world is unfair and hard, do we look at women with rose-colored glasses as a form of optimistic relief? And recently, to a large degree, yes. This is what I thought would be the answer. I mean, no, because I'm a Jedi, that was tongue-in-cheek, but it seems like a lot of people picked that one. And a few said absolutely. And look, I appreciate the honesty. I want us to be as honest as possible and not too macho about things, because it's okay. It's fun to be macho when you're past it. Say you're happily alone, right? You're blissfully alone, especially if you're an older guy. You've been there, done that, been married, and or you're a guy in a happy relationship or whatever. Your life is good, and this is just intellectually interesting for you. These kind of topics, and you can joke around. That's fine. But for the vast majority of people, they're lonely or they want to find the right person if they're able to. There's this sort of range. There's people that desperately want children. So this is the tricky thing with this. I take this stuff very seriously. I like to talk about everyday life because that's where most of us reside and we talk and we walk in. But a lot of people just treat it like a video game and everything's tongue-in-cheek. Everything's a joke. Hey, martial arts, oriental medicine, how are you? Yeah, Darren says social media has made people shallow. Yeah. The social media has brought out the worst traits of people. I'm always trying to be the same person I am, even if I can't see you, like this when I'm answering questions and talking to people the way I normally would if I was talking about these subjects face to face with somebody. Whereas I notice some people, they switch when you talk to them online. If you meet them in person, obviously in person, there's the physical, so that changes your perception of them. But I think a lot of people hide in social media, and then even worse, some people develop an online persona, even if it's just in the comment section. They automatically go to troll mode. Name says, I was banned from the Discord because I beat Coltane in multiple arguments. Really? Did you beat him? Or did they get tired of debating you? The people that are moderators on my Discord, they've got different personalities. You may not get along with one, you may get along with some. I'm probably the most agreeable, okay? I'm generally an agreeable person. But I think the reason I chose the guys who are moderators on my Discord, as well as the people that I call friends in life and the people I call friends online, like the moderators, is because they have conversations they don't really want to debate. So myself as well, I'm not interested in beating anybody, debating someone, proving I'm right. What do you get? What do you get for proving you're right? What do you get for, dominating your woman? What do you get for being the leader? You don't get anything. You're alone and you've got people subject to you. They follow you. They don't love you. They're afraid of you. They're your employee. You don't have a friendship. Friendship is conversation. Friendship isn't debate. Yeah, you can have a friendly debate, but most of the time, not most of the time, almost all of the time, anyone who gets timed out or banned from Discord or here is because they're being a troll and they're wanting to win something and prove they're right. They're the macho person. So having a conversation is one thing, but trying to beat somebody is another thing. Personality comes into it as well. Some people just don't get along. But the best thing we can do is be civil. If you don't get along with someone, stop trying to win and be right. Just sort of say, okay, I'm disengaging. Let go. All right? Darren says, I'm this way. I have never just picked up, not even as a young lad. Yeah. It's interesting. Have you ever looked into maybe why, Darren? Why maybe? Because I'm asking because I did this with myself. A lot of the things that I was frustrated with myself, like fear to approach women when I was younger, fear of like knowing what to say, fear of this and that. And then I sort of looked at where it might have come from when I was younger. And then I found a couple of puzzle pieces. I don't, don't live in the past, but look at where it might have come from. A couple of interesting comments the last couple of videos that I've put down. There's probably been more, but for the time being, let's look at these ones. That guy, Pete. With the recent video, Love from a Woman's Point of View, where I posed the analogy that might be useful to guys, because again, men and women really find it hard to understand the basics of human interaction, especially affection. If we were to get into each other's heads, we'd see vastly different points of views and feel those different points of views very, very differently. It would kind of shock both of us. And from the women I've talked to, and just kind of seeing what words they use to describe things and how coldly or how warmly they talk about a subject, or after a situation has happened romantically or with their friends and stuff, and how they kind of just move on. And a lot of times it's admirable. I think, well, I wish I was like that to a large degree, but not as coldly as you are, perhaps. So people, there's a range. I understand that. But yeah, I posed the analogy that, especially in this video here, this one here, my theory is that if men can understand that women love them like we love our cars, we really feel warm, we have a really great place for our car, and we love it more than anything. It's our car. And if it got stolen or destroyed, we'd really feel annoyed and sad, and there'd be loss and stuff. And even more so if there's some sentimental value, like your father bought you the car or something like that. But then you'd sort of get another one, or the grieving process wouldn't be that long, because you'd get on with the necessities of life. And I'm not saying that a car's necessary. You may want to sort of take your time and take transport or walk or whatever. But most of us would say, well, I'm going to get another car. I don't necessarily want to recreate exactly the same car. And we could recreate exactly the same car. We get another car. We go for a change. But guys stay stuck in that place with their missing car for a long time. And it takes them a long time, to the detriment of their life, passing them by month by month, year by year, haunted by the car they used to have. And you have to go on, especially if you know there's no going back. She's not coming back. It's over. You made a mistake. She made a mistake. She shouldn't have left, or whatever it might be. If you know it's not coming back and that you're just beating a dead horse, and even if you just did beg her to come back, what would that be like? A lot of guys, like, they're begging their woman to come back after, especially she's chosen to leave, say, where there's a lot of guys that have in that position. A few guys that have left themselves, but they had enough. They were sort of pushed, or they couldn't tolerate it anymore. There are different factors. And it's not always the guy's fault. The woman may have left, and then he's haunted by, yeah, I was a dick for a long time, and I want her back. It's like, well, it's a lesson learned. Like, she tolerated you for this long, and then she finally left. If the tables were turned, and she was treating you like crap, and you finally left, everyone would be saying to you, dude, took you long enough. And you'd nod, but you gave it as long as you can. So the point of the analogy of the car is to help guys see that women do love you, but they love you very, very differently. And of course, not all women, blah, blah, blah. But I'm saying generally, the women I've spoken to, most of my failed relationships, when I look back on the conversations, and when I talk to women generally, it's kind of a pattern that keeps repeating in terms of how they see things. I feel like I'm out of focus. Anyway, Velcro. All right. So, that guy Pete you refused to invite to gatherings said about that car analogy video. He said, a human being can't be replaced, but a human doing can be. This is very true. I said, and I mentioned this to him, I replied in the comment, that it's very incumbent on us to demand and insist on our own humanity. And then what that does is that you're able to recognize it in someone else, or more importantly, the lack of it in somebody else. Because when we're not self-interested enough in terms of our own humanity and our own virtues, what's important, a good conversation, someone who's understanding, someone who is interested about the everyday of life and talks in depth about it and sort of loves that kind of stuff, you will see why you have not much to say to an empty person that's not interested in virtue and the ethics that you perhaps are. So insist on being you and as interested in you, like, because no one's going to be interested in you as much as you should be. And I'm not saying ego, I'm saying in a very fair way. What do you want and what's fair in you wanting it from another person, and they want that from you, and you can play tennis in that way. Kiwi Osticon says about an older video of mine, you're always in a relationship. That's a couple of years ago. I did that video. He says, I had a moment of realization the other day similar to this. Basically in this video, I said, no matter whether you're in a relationship or you're on your own, you're having a relationship in your head with this voice. And with most people, this voice is not a good one. It's a friend that puts you down. It's a overbearing parent that is shaming you. It's your ex-girlfriends that have shamed you. It's your deficiencies. You kick yourself, blah, blah, blah. So that voice in your head is not a good one when you're left on your own. And unfortunately, most people have that kind of relationship in their own head, and they don't treat themselves well. So that video was basically saying, you are always in a relationship, whether you're with a girl or whether you're in your own head. And a lot of times I think guys have picked the same kind of bad women because they have a similar person in their head, or it's familiar, or your mother might have been like that, or your friends, or you've conditioned yourself that is love, that's affection, that's interesting, that's an interesting relationship. Well, if that's what you like, you need to understand what you like and why it's not giving you the contentment and stability that you might want as well. So he continues, the most important relationship in our lives is the one that we have with ourselves. Yes. And the next realization was that I actually like myself, all things considered. Yeah. Be objective. Are you a decent guy? Like, look at your friends and your circle of people to ask them, how would you describe me? Like, realistically, what do you think of my bad traits and good traits? Do I listen? I want you to be honest, because I'm really interested. Like, I want to be a better person. Some macho guys will say, well, that's very feminine, that's airy-fairy. But if you want to solve your problems and have a life where you're not sort of falling over and like hitting speed bumps with people all the time, it's a good way to sort of smooth out your sharp edges in relation to other people and yourself. He continues, I'm far from perfect, sorry, but at least I try to be the best I can be and have good intentions in life. That's great. You can't expect much more from other people than that, so why would I not apply the same to myself? Yes. Treat the relationship you have with the voice in your head, how you think, how you speak, have it as a high bar. Have that person a noble person that you're proud of. If this person was your friend that you're out with, that you're not embarrassed of what's going to come out of their mouth, they're a great person to always go out with. They're a person that's always got your back, And in that moment, everything felt, so blah, blah, blah. I try to be the best I can be with good intentions in life. You can't expect much more from other people than that. So why would you not apply the same to myself? And in that moment, everything felt okay. And that I have had my whole life ahead of me to take good care of myself and make good choices because I deserve it. Yes. You can't just care about everyone else and care about a woman and care about it, and you're a zero. You don't exist. You're just this functional tool to care about people. But the degree to which you can maximize that caring of people is that other people fill you up. They sort of reciprocate that caring too. David Kelly says a few about my video, The End of Love and Relationships. This was the one, I think, where I was commenting on the discussion between Richard Grannon and Sam Vaknin. He said, a few angry words I just can't take back, cold, bitter tears, as her suitcase is packed. Next thing I know, I'm back to being single again. I don't know how love starts, but I sure know how it ends. See, this is my sympathies, David, but this is the thing. Like, when it is your fault, there's no going back. If you don't iron out your temper, if you can't speak properly, the thing is not having any regrets. If things end, but you do the best you can. That's the important thing. So then when all is said and done, you couldn't have tried any more. And then later on, you don't feel any guilt. You're not haunted by it. If they come back and want you to give them a second chance, that's another thing. It's up to you. I wouldn't suggest it, but again, every situation is different. Whether or not a lot of it was your fault and you wish you could have gone back and done one or two things right. And if it wasn't for you, things might have worked out. I don't know. But this self-analysis is all pretty, not just intellectually interesting, but if you're in a part of life where you feel alone or you're not quite where you want to be, it's very, very essential that you sort of find this stuff important. Hey Donna, how you going? Iron Yuppie says, how did you let go with your past relationships? Depending on which ones. Again, I wasn't this person with every single past relationship. There was a progression, and I dealt with each of them better as time went on. So it's not a black and white thing. The one thing that does help you deal with time, with relationships, is time. Unfortunately, that I know it's like a cliche, annoying thing, but time does heal those wounds, and you can't. It's very hard to intellectualize your way out of it when you're right in that breakup moment, especially if there are a lot of unresolved questions. Especially if it ended like that. If it was a progression, it's easier because you saw it coming. You've probably talked, you've argued, blah blah blah. It was slowly sort of being pushed apart. But when there's that break, that traumatic break, that's where it's pretty hard with most people. I still have too much of a tan in this video. And it's not because I have a tan. It's because the color is a bit off. Let's try something else. Remember, guys, if you want to ask any questions, whoa. If you want to ask any questions, make sure you add a whole bunch of emojis in front of your question so I can see them properly. No. Whoa, that one's called Blade Runner. All right. Okay. That's it. So let me see what questions you guys have for me in the stream. Mr. Adams Apple says he looks like me, right down to the glasses. I should probably be wearing my glasses. But there's some moments where it's okay. Just the guy says asking your friends to criticize you can be a very bad idea. Most likely they won't know what to say and they never paid much attention and will feel compelled to come up with something bad. Yeah, this is true too. You don't want to push them. You just want to casually ask them, like, what do you think is one of my worst traits? Just like, or what do you think is somewhere I might need to improve? Know how to word things too. Don't ask for something that if they tell you, because don't forget you asked them, so you can't get annoyed. You did ask them. How they tell you, I suppose, is another thing. You'd hope most people would have tact, but not a lot of people do. Remember to hit the like button, subscribe, join if you feel like it, guys. It helps the channel out. Elusive Man says, as men, we spend so much time trying to understand the outer world and we neglect to explore our inner psyche. We try to cheat by getting a woman to carry that burden on our behalf. Yes. And yeah, women do it in a different way. Get us to carry the burden of doing and protecting of the outside world. I did a video a while back that I'm pretty proud of in terms of the effort I put into the cinematography called The Alone Man, where I talked about that, where men are so interested in logic, cause and effect, philosophy, and intelligence. We're interested in intelligence not just because of responsibility, but because if we're not, we're homeless. We're one step away from the grave. Whereas women, they've always got a man, you know, the community, the tribe. That's the ace up their sleeve. They can always bat their eyelids and talk in a low voice and be taken care of. Whereas with a guy, there's just less sympathy. So a guy has to be interested in reason and cause and effect. And a lot of the time-honored sort of male mentoring ways to do with like stoicism and things like that, because they help a guy make sense of himself and organize the world around him. So yeah, with the world can be hard, and a lot of men use a woman as a reprieve, as a release, and it's a bad idea. You really need to deal with that low-level discomfort, because if you just get any woman that you just tend to get along with on the surface without looking at important things like virtue and why you feel good around them, because that momentary feeling good could just be hormones wanting you to be with this person. It could just be a reprieve or a distraction from life. But really, can they be integral to your life? Can they make your life better in terms of like a cooperative personality that fits with you? But that would mean that you need to be present and aware of the people the person you're talking to, the conversations you're having, whether they fit with you, why they fit with you, not just because you feel good. Karu, how are you, man? Karu is one of the mods on my Discord server, not just Coltane. What did you guys think of the conversation had with Karu, Coltane, and a couple of other guys recently? It's you'll find the link to it in my community tab. It's the thumbnail with the blue sky and the yellow balloon that says life on it. We had a discussion off the back of the Roe v. Wade stuff that's been going on the last couple of weeks, and basically talking around trying to force traditionalism into a modern world with, you know, that women are running at the moment, or women are steering the social script. You know, women want to have all this freedom now, and I remember talking with some women in my life, and look, I was on their side. I don't like the government interfering and telling people how to live their social lives, and they were really annoyed at how dare they. And I kind of said, well, we've been dealing with that for a long time. Welcome to what a man deals with, having no reproductive rights. How does it feel? And I laughed, and they didn't find it funny. I go, I know, I don't find it funny as well, but we've had to deal with it for a while. So I don't think the woman I was talking to in my personal life really found it amusing, but I think they were surprised that I was so cold about it. It's like, well, before you were kind of dismissive about it as well when it had to do with men, and your solution was, well, pick better women. Well, I could just say pick better men, and you won't have to worry about an abortion. Or be careful with your contraception, or whatever. You know, basically, we need to be a bit more sober now and adult, and not just be sort of children running around swinging toys around. All right. Any more questions, guys? James Von Maxwell, how are you, man? Good to see you here. There's one guy on here, James Von Maxwell, that appreciates microphones as much as I do. Iron Yuppie says it's been nearly a year. We didn't date long, but it ended quickly and on bad terms. Maybe I need to give it more time. Yeah, nearly a year. Yeah, it's very interesting. See, this is the thing. People like to give you cookie cutter solutions to breakups and relationships. But correct me if I'm wrong, every single relationship affected you very differently. Am I wrong? I know for myself, like, you know, my last relationship, it was very different. How it ended, how I felt with her, how I feel after, compared to the one before. It was completely different. The only similarities is that they were both female. That is it. Everything from their looks to their temperament to how I felt to how I felt afterwards and during, and my patience with them, just everything. So cookie cutter solutions, it never made sense to me. I think we should personalize all of it. There are objective right things to do and right and wrong things to do. Again, given your personality, given who you are, something that's right for somebody may not be right for you. But generally, good choices and bad choices are pretty much on par. But then again, everything else is so variable. So if you're not interested in this stuff, you can't sort of blame women in relationships all the time if you don't have any interest in who you are and who you let in, and whether you censor yourself or you don't, who you commit to, who you don't, who you vet. You can't just say all women are the same and that's your logic. That's just sort of letting yourself off the hook, and then later on, then getting angry at women. Where I think a lot of guys are secretly angry at themselves for not just how long they stayed, but for not speaking up. I know that for me, that was a big thing. Not so much spending longer than I should have, because I did try and try and try, because I don't want to regret things and have sleepless nights later on. I want to know I tried everything, but not speaking up, staying silent, censoring myself because I don't want an argument, because I've got this sort of nervousness with, you know, the female figure in my life. I don't want to upset her. And it's like, why? Why? This is a topic that needs to be talked about. I'm not intentionally trying to make her feel bad. I want to talk about this topic openly. If she gets annoyed, it is nothing to do with me. I'm trying to talk about it as maturely as possible. Things left unsaid, I think, are the cause of many people's anxieties. Martial Arts Oriental Medicine, thank you very much for the super chat. He said, can't complain, had beautiful women, good ones, seems always likely to be being alone. Seems always liked being, it always seemed like you were alone. I either left or they got tired. Something wrong with me. I love my time in freedom to read, write, train, martial arts, and play music and study. Yeah, I think some women got, I'd say the majority of them, I'd say roughly like 60 to 70% probably got bored with me too. I had one or two always poking and prodding me, not buying how calm I am. You know, a lot of women want change, variety, and drama. So yeah, a lot of women got bored with me because I don't change, which is kind of weird because I always thought that would be one thing that would make them feel secure with me. You know, so I don't know. I don't get it. But again, that's why I'm not with them anymore. Gebimaru, the empty, says, I've been talking to this girl for a while now and I'm somewhat hesitant to call it love or say I love her, yet even though we both know we like each other, would I be rushing things? Have you been talking to her face to face? And I don't know, this is just me. I can't say I love anyone until like I've been with them and sort of, you know, touched them, kissed them, like sort of been physical with them, and then looked at how I feel about them and not just go with the feelings, but really look at it like a third person. Like, say it was somebody who cared about you like a best friend or a family member or a mother or a father. You know, what would they say about this person? Like, what would I say to them? Have that discussion. And if it all aligns with how you feel, great. And then say it when you feel like it, not because you're being blackmailed, not because she says, I love you, and you feel like you have to reciprocate because it's polite. Don't be polite. Look, it's just me. And I know a lot of women don't think it's that important, the words they say, but it is. And I've found this interesting with women, that when I say, oh, it's very important to me when I choose to say I love you, it needs to mean something from me. And a lot of women, it's just love language. You say it as a form of politeness. But I know for me, it needs to not just be how I feel. I need to have processed why I feel that way, and it needs to be my decision to make it because those words mean something to me. Because those words don't just mean something today, they mean something going forward to me. Because I like that stability. I like knowing where I stand with what I say. Yeah, I can adjust, but I love you or I'm committed to you. It can't be a day-to-day thing, whereas for a lot of women it is. But for guys, it's not, because you want to build a future. You can't build a future on water. Vero says, if you're weary of the answers, don't ask the questions. Yes. Also, how you respond to questions. If it's not just how you, if you need to also realize if someone's actually being rude, or you're just sensitive with certain topics. And if you are, why you are. You need to deal with those issues. But as long as someone's not being directly rude and, you know, putting you down and berating and castigating you. George Sonev, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Mr. Highway, how are you, man? Haven't seen you in a while. He says, I've been thinking over my place in society and I've decided to move from USA to South America. I never realized how little of life I've been living until I started thinking internationally. Yeah, I noticed this myself too. We're on the same page in many ways than one, Mr. Highway, I've noticed over the year. I was never interested in travel. And before, during what happened these last couple of years and now after, travel has kind of made me look at my life where I am and kind of look at it like a third person. Like when I went overseas, I was almost looking at my life like a separate person back in Australia. And you start to adjust things. You know, you can sort of see, have I been living in the same place for too long? Do I want to move? Do I want to get a new car? Do I want to let go of this? Do I need those friends? Do I need to start new things? Do I need to pull the trigger on X, Y, or Z that I've been just too lazy to do in the last 5 to 10 or 20 years? Yeah, I think when you're young, travel is just a kind of social event where it's kind of like an extended party. But I think as you get older, it can be an eye opener. I don't necessarily agree with like finding yourself overseas, but I think gaining perspective can do a lot of that. Because let's face it, no matter where you go overseas, you take yourself with you. Karu says there's a point after a breakup where you're the one with the issues if you can't get over it. Yeah. There's a lot of people that just love to fling mud. It's like if they pile on so much mud to their ex and tell you a story about how bad they were, as though it was a one-sided story and they were a perfect angel. It's almost like they hope that they can cover them so much that the ex, the ghost, can't speak anymore. They're smothering them. But the moment you sort of ask, okay, what happened? How are you? What did you say to that? And then you start to see, okay, well, you can't blame her for doing this or that. You can't blame her for not accepting that. So, yeah. Does it haunt you? So does it haunt you? Because a lot of times, if we're quiet, we go through a relationship as a puppet and they just use us. It's our fault because we didn't exist. So it's us haunted really by ourselves doing that and not talking. And then there's the other. So again, this stuff is essential to kind of look at the realities of it. So you go forward and you have better relationships. Just the guy says they want stability in regard to your commitment to them, but want you to climb the social ladder. Who cares what they want? If you don't want the same thing, and if it's a real sort of deal breaker, if it requires you to change your life to a degree where it's not really going to be your life anymore. Sure, there's, I hate to use the word compromise, but there's give and take where you don't change your life, but it can't just be your life and another person's your puppet, like a lot of the sort of dating coaches will tell you. She just has to live in your frame and you keep your autonomy, but she doesn't keep hers. That's ridiculous. Like, I'm more philosophically inclined. I think it should be a fair, reciprocal thing. The golden rule, if you will. Treat the other person like you want to be treated. If she has to do everything you ask, then you have to do everything she asks. You can't be one of these hypocrites that say, no, she has to live completely in my frame and her frame, like, I don't care what she is. She's just a walking, talking mirror for me that looks hot. Have fun talking to that thing. Are we actually, some of those guys driving themselves insane because if they don't want someone with a personality, they just want sort of a mirror to bounce off whatever they want. They're effectively just talking to themselves. And I can see a lot of the psychological problems that come out of that. And nothing to say about not being able to rely on the person. As was said recently, like, you can't rely on them to be thoughtful for you and for the relationship. Basically, they're going to sit there and you're going to say, oh, why didn't you do this? Oh, you did not tell me, master. How does that work for you when you can't sort of be proud of someone thinking for themselves for you in the relationship? No, you have to do the work for everyone. You have to do the work for you. You have to take the emotional and decision burden for them. You're effectively got a child. Yeah, Karu makes a point about He says, sometimes there's nothing to work through. Sometimes irrational is just something irrational. No reason to try to make sense of it. A lot, especially for us overthinkers, and sometimes we get a bit too clever for ourselves. The best thing we can do sometimes, especially if you've turned the thing over a few times, is let it go. That's a choice. The choice isn't just to fix it. Another way of fixing something is to let it go. That's the best choice to make. You know, especially if you've tried. Letting go is a choice. Whereas a lot of guys are like, no, that's not fixing it. That's a different paradigm. It's still a choice though. As is not doing anything. If you stay still and do nothing, that's still a choice as well. And I'm talking about staying in a bad relationship. Remember, if some of you guys have a microphone, jump on Discord after the chat. I know it's midweek. Most people are either going to bed or whatever, but if you feel like chatting and you've got a microphone, jump on Discord and talk to a bunch of guys. It's always open. Donna says, cigarettes are harmful only if you smoke them. What about secondhand smoke, Donna? I know there's kind of debate about that. Zeno says, could you recommend any philosophy book that you found to be of a particular value? I'm impressed by the way you think through problems out loud. It sounds developed. Yeah, this is just an accumulation of years and being interested. It's exercising a muscle. There's no one book. Different books at different times were like finding religion. And, you know, I just kind of accumulated those religious points that sort of broadened my view. Let me think. Charles Bukowski was a big one in my late 20s. Around 30, I think. Yeah, around there. 30 plus or minus, I can't remember. He was a big one. I devoured him. I think I've got like every single book of his bar a couple. So I've got about like 20 to 25 of his books on my shelf. So whenever anyone comes into my home and looks on my shelf, they're like, wow, you really like him. It's like, he's just really easy to digest, really easy to read. You can open any page and get something from him. And he talks, look, I don't agree with a lot of his morals and his ways of seeing the world, but I love the way he talks about everyday life in a very clear way that helps you make sense of things. Life, the complexities of life, you know, governments and, you know, the big issues. I'm not a very big picture person. I am much more interested in small picture, you making your world as clear as possible and then expanding that clarity outward, but never compromising the clarity of here and the residue of your effort that you give your understanding to life kind of goes outward, but never taking away from here. Who you are should sort of affect the world and how you understand and relate it to yourself. But there's so many people that this proximal you is empty, and they think that if I can work out women, if I can debate all day about, you know, what's going on with like the lockdowns, or whatever it might be, then I can figure life out. It's like, no, you won't, because you don't exist. Make yourself exist first. Always stand on that podium with whatever you're talking about, and then see how much of that can integrate. Because the only power you've got in making your life or yourself feeling good is being self-interested enough. And then you can talk about the world and politics and all that sort of stuff and inform yourself with them. But all this information in the manosphere, right? If you don't integrate it, if you don't use it, if it's not practical, if you can't use it in everyday life, it is a hobby, gentlemen. I'll say that again. If you can't use this in your life, if you don't try and use it, if you don't speak about it, if you don't make choices, if you're not open about it. Verbalize it, practice it in life. If you're not doing it, it is just a hobby. That's all it is. You can jump up and down in the comment section, but if you get in front of a woman and it's like, pretty, and you don't know what to say, and you think that every time you get in front of a woman, like as soon as you cop feels, it's over, then again, this is all a hobby for you. You can jump up and down, but you're jumping up and down online to the degree that you're either too afraid or you refuse to be self-interested enough to speak and try this stuff in real life. This stuff is just a hobby if you don't apply it. Simple as that. And I find the everyday interesting to talk about in an adult and an intelligent way, because it is the most important thing you can do. It's about your ethics. It's about your empirical life that you're living. There's too many people up and online that jump up and down and treat this like a video game. This is entertainment for most people. It is. Any final questions, guys? We've been going for, I think, just over an hour. Any philosophy books? Okay, let me get back to it. Charles Bukowski. Dostoevsky's pretty good, but the younger you are, it's sort of... The more you've read, I would recommend Dostoevsky. Who else? Oh, his name always escapes me. What's his name? His name... Come on. Alan Watts. Look, I would say, again, read broadly. Like, say, for instance, you start reading Bukowski and that interests you. Then you sort of see other recommendations. Read excerpts. Be interested enough to kind of branch out and try this and try that. Put it down if it doesn't sort of speak to you. But being interested in reading to me is the same as being interested in a good conversation. And the good thing, especially for many of us introverts, is that reading good books is like cultivating friendships or conversations with people while actively avoiding people. So for introverts, that's a good thing. Not necessarily, but you know what I mean. Like if you find it hard to... So it allows you to be social with the best kind of people. Look, there's the books that people normally spit out, like, you know, Marcus Aurelius, the Stoics, and things like that. They're okay, but part of me doesn't know. You know, I like them, but I never come back to them, and I think I figured out why. Because part of me is like, they talk about everyday life in a very practical way, which I love, but also these are many of them were rich people with something to say, or people with some sort of authority. But yeah, so I hope some of those recommendations helped. A lot of times fiction, it's not just non-fiction. A lot of times good fiction can speak a lot to you, because don't forget, human beings learn a lot of lessons through stories. We don't like being told what to do, but if we observe a story and there's lessons in the story, then... Like, one writer that I really love is James Goad. He's really good. His recent book about the woke crowd is pretty good. Look at what's it called? Something about church ladies. Have a look at Jim Goad, Church Ladies or something. That's a really good book. It's basically a whole bunch of essays about political correctness in the last couple of years. The redhead crowd. Mr. Highway says, I've been missing in action because I work evenings now. It's my last week on the job before I leave for my next chapter in life. To be honest, Paul Proteus was an inspiration for me to leave the hood as a black man. Yeah, Paul Proteus was the man. I love that guy. Rest in peace, man. Yeah, he talked about, he really kind of inspired, like, I looked at him. I remember I looked at Paul Proteus's videos, and I loved his channel, and then I was asking myself, why do I love his channel so much? Like, this guy's awesome, and I want to do things. There were elements of the way he presented and how open and honest he was, and how he was just having a conversation with the guy, the person watching his video, and I really, really took a lot of inspiration from him. I'm just sad I never got to have a one-on-one conversation with him. I chatted with him, like I threw emails back and forth here and there. But yeah, we never quite teed up a discussion. But he was awesome. He's my all-time favorite Manosphere channel. All right, guys. Mr. Highway says there's a difference between knowing the pitch and walking the path. Yeah. We can talk tough, but if we don't walk tough, it's pointless. A lot of the tough talk is us knowing the right thing to do, but we don't do the right thing. Do what you know you should do, but you're too afraid to do, or you're avoiding. Quasimandai says, you got to know where you are, or you won't know who you are. Yeah, because who you are resides in a place too, and the environment affects who you are too. Just the guy says, does it bother you that Alan Watts turned his lights out? Not really. For me, it's not the messenger, it's the message. Like, you know, Friedrich Nietzsche went nuts, died alone, talking to pigeons. But you can't discount that there were really astute things he said and observed about life. So it's the character of the person only matters to me if I'm going to have a direct relationship with them, if they're a person I want to hang out with, or if it means something. But if the relationship I have with a person is what they've written, like a writer, for instance, Bukowski that I mentioned before, I would never want to have a friend like him. He wasn't the person I could be around, but what he put down on paper, I remember really opened me up to discovering a lot of things later on, and being sort of more reflective about my world. So for me, it's never about the messenger, it's about the message, unless I'm actually going to have a relationship, an intimate relationship with this person. All right, guys. Boffin, how you going? Quaz, Vero, Jennifer, Grey Matters, Elusive Man. Yeah, a lot of regulars. Hello, everyone. All right, let's wrap this up. Actually, what I'll do, let me just quickly go through some. Let's end it with flicking through some of the recent comments. Yeah, Tristan, in regards to my question, because the world is unfair, do we use women as a reprieve? And if the world is unfair and we just stay there doing nothing, not changing our environment to make it better for us, then it's very hard to, like, we spend a lot of time mentally, with a lot of mental effort, trying to make the world right from a mental place and not doing any of it from a physical place. We need to engage with the world. It's not just with the people around us, but your environment. Your environment could be suffocating you. So deal with all of it, not just the mental space, but the physical one too. It's no different to mind-body. You want to get fit, you've got to take care of your body as well as your mind. They dance together, as does your environment and your mental state. Viking Shark says, we view a breakup as a failure and a loss. It's our responsibility to take care of it, safeguard, and make it prosper. When it fails, even if it's 100% on her, we still view it as some kind of failure on our part. This is why I say to talk about it before you break up. If you've exhausted everything you can, then you shouldn't feel completely responsible for the failure. Women view a breakup as a win. It's freedom, it's release, it's going on to something better, and she has no winning, no wiring that tells her any of it is her fault. Yeah, for most women, that's the case. VKRG fan, if a woman walks away that easy, it's either she had enough or she didn't feel anything to begin with. It is not true that we move on easy. We may appear. I was talking about it from a conceptual male point of view, because we can't be in your head. It's not true that we move on easy. We may appear like we move on, but it doesn't mean we forget or don't rationalize or analyze about the breakup. Yeah, but the fact that many women monkey branch onto another guy, they get into another relationship. It's not just that they slept with someone, they get into another relationship right away. So there's no point saying, oh, it may look like we don't feel anything, but deep down we do. That's a sort of a, I think that's a nice way of coming, that's a polite way of sort of excusing your behavior. If you behave in a certain way, no matter how you say, oh, you know, it may look like I did that thing, but I really didn't. Underneath it all, I felt the opposite. It's like, then you wouldn't do that thing. If you felt the opposite, you wouldn't be able to do the thing going forward. VKRG fan says, for me personally, men that complain about women moving on fast indicate that they had, in fact, a decent woman in their lives and they effed it up, and now realizing this is a trope that most women say. She was great and it's your fault. A decent woman and they effed it up, and now realizing she's long gone and not coming back, and most likely he will never meet anyone like her again because she was a real genuine person, not a car or a dog. I find it that people with intention and purpose has less issues to find a partner than those who don't know what they are looking for. Yeah. Whatever. I don't think you looked at my video. I didn't say that women don't feel. There are exceptional women out there, but the majority of them, the way they act, I don't care what someone says they feel inside, because a lot of people lie to come off looking better than they are. You know, but how you act says a lot. You are what you do. We can come up with a lot of words. I can say anything about how I feel inside. It doesn't make it true. If I act a certain way, what I say is just theory. I can say that getting ripped is important, but if I never practice it, if I never get fit, it's all just words. So how you act afterwards shows a lot of who you are. If how you act doesn't correlate with how you say you feel, it doesn't matter. Like I said before about a lot of the manosphere stuff, if it's all talk and never practiced, it's a hobby. So all of your virtues you're talking about, oh, we really feel this despite starting a relationship next week or next month, Your feelings are a hobby. They're not real. Because your feelings, if they mean anything, should translate into the choices you make. Chris says, I think I'm going to have to disagree with Human here. There are many women who have become alpha widows. They are unable to let go of that guy. One has to feel sorry for them that they are following in the wake of an alpha dude. Look, I get it. I was just trying to offer also from a guy's point of view, the guys that sort of see women moving on very quickly, despite what women say, a way of trying to see things from their point of view. I'm not saying that they literally see us as nothing but an object, but if you can see the way you really love your car, but if your car went away, you wouldn't require therapy. It would be annoying, it would be disappointing, but you could move on and get another car. I was trying to offer a thought model that could help guys when they know it's over to stop wasting years in that space. A lot of you guys see what you want to see. I kept repeating it in this last video, my theory from a woman's point of view, my car analogy. This was to help a guy use it as a thought model where he's stuck. Whereas a lot of people like VK took it literally. I'm not saying all women are cold like that, but it's a way that it can help a man. And as usual, most women will think, no, you're literally thinking women are like that. It's like, no, it's a way we can somehow approximate it for our own well-being so we can move on, because there's no going back. What would you rather? Because a lot of women like the idea of a man sort of sitting there suffering for years. I've talked to them. Again, I'm being, these are just personal examples. They're not proof. But the last video was a thought model to help guys move forward where there's no way they can really truly understand. They're not going to get back with her. I'm not saying there aren't women that do suffer and they can't move on. My father's passed away a couple of years ago, and she's still in exactly the same spot. She's never going to find anyone else. She never wants to. He was the love of her life, and she'll be a widow till the end. And I know there's people like that. I was just giving a thought. Like, some of you people, you take the baton and you run with it rather than having a conversation. Like, you want to be right. You want to be right. If you haven't realized by now, I am chewing on ideas as a way of us refining ourselves. I'm not making these videos to say this is a airtight thesis, a book that's going to be on the shelf and it's never going to change because it's 100% right. These are ways we can sort of adjust our thinking and lead better lives. All right, guys, there's a lot of really good comments. Nadine says, I'm not sure. Nadine, well, okay. I'm not sure this theory is totally accurate. It was an analogy to help you conceptualize something. Women's love is certainly different from men's love, but it seems to be more of an act, something women do because society expects them. Don't blame society. Yes, society pushes you. It's the same like, do we get rid of McDonald's or do we hold a person responsible for not going into the McDonald's? That's why most women change after marriage. They never really felt love. They were just playing the part of the loving girlfriend to get the man to commit and sign the marriage contract. Yeah. Again, all of this pressure from the external, the script we're told, we're fed by our parents and everyone, guys and girls, you have to get to a point where you see it doesn't work and you have to be genuine to find a genuine partner. Or have that relationship with yourself and just stay alone. Yeah. Buckaroo says, the theory checks out. If you try to explain this dynamic to anyone not yet burnt, it falls on deaf ears. Or if you try to explain it to women, they'll take it literally. They won't understand it. Because you have to look at it from from a point of view different from your own. You need to sort of step outside yourself and look at it as a third person looking at it as an idea or as a story, as a metaphor, not as something literal. But women's reflex is to place themselves in the situation. If I talk about women, it's like they place themselves as a woman in that situation. I can say generally women, most women, women in general, but women will always like, you're talking about all of them, including me. You're placing me there. It's like, I know I never placed you there. I'm talking about women as a concept in general. You can't generalize. Yes, I can, because before any woman becomes personal to me, she's a general woman. Just as any guy, because before he becomes intimate to you, he's a general guy. There's not, and it's a way for us to understand life. Until something is known, it's general. You observe it from a distance. All right, guys. Andrew asks a good question. He says, understanding this, how do you still love them? I think the important thing is the initial process of you sort of getting closer to the person, knowing why you like them, why you feel good, understanding that framework, not just going with the flow of, I just feel good, I want to be around them, because that's just lust and biology. But if you can add to that why, like if there are virtues based on why you love them, it's not just you're attracted to them physically and they're just agreeable to be around, but your views on life match. They've got empathy, they're nice, they're sympathetic, they're kind, they're fair. They can talk about these kind of things intelligently. You can have good conversations with them. You're aligned in so many important ethical ways and so many moral ways that you really find it easy to be with them because you don't agree with how to conduct life. You can disagree on, I like salt and vinegar chips and I like, I don't know, barbecue chips. That's different. But where you both need to dance in life, where you're on the same page, that makes a big difference to recognize where you're on the same page. And where you're not on the same page. And don't lie to yourself and think like, well, if we can accumulate a lot of other banal stuff that really doesn't matter, like going to movies and holidays, we can kind of avoid, I want kids, she doesn't. She wants to travel, I don't. No, they're big things. They're how you live your life. They're your lifestyle. Yeah, we never had this growing up. Papa says, damn, I feel lucky that I know this when I have entered the 18th year mark and nearly the 19th year mark. This will save a lot of unnecessary pain in the future. I discovered this at 30. So with the internet, you don't want to get neurotic about this, but you want to be realistic and be interested in this stuff because it's rarer that men and women naturally relate and talk to each other out in the world. We're all talking to each other online and we organize very, very special face-to-face events where most of us, unfortunately, don't even talk to each other or reveal the person. So knowing a lot of this stuff will do you well to protect you. Smart Guy says, yeah, the analogy works, but it's dependent upon age and life experience. I realize this, yeah. Cars are replaceable, but when men are young and hopeful, we convince ourselves that a special woman who meets our needs is irreplaceable and eternal. This is a mistake. As I've grown older, I realize that everything in life, including especially women, is temporary. Love for a woman has an expiration date. She will change. She will be fickle and reject you. She will not live forever. Neither will you. Frankly, if everything in life was more like a car and if it were embraced the temporary nature of our existence, I believe it would be a lot happier. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to, yeah, it's not hard, but it's kind of like the acceptance of the temporary. It also makes you appreciate it while it's there. That's the good thing. Men love idealistically and women love opportunistically. Chris said, once society normalized female promiscuity, the game changed completely. Women can get men far easier than men finding that special lady. And so when a woman offers a man, and so what a woman offers a man is her fidelity. Once she knows it's socially free to bounce around, it's a wide open market for her. There's zero reason to put in an effort. As a matter of fact, it's now silly for a woman to put in an effort to stay with one guy. Yeah, women have this abundance mindset that why should they settle for anything? Everything's for free. Whereas before you could sort of get a guy. I mean, women always had more of a choice of guy than guys had choices of women, generally speaking, the average person. Women have such an abundance mindset in terms of getting a guy that they keep pushing it forward and they say, yeah, one day in the future, you know, when I've established my career, then I'll settle down and start a family. If men thought like that, like we wouldn't even look towards women till our 40s. So if you want a family, you can't get, I think a lot of women get angry at men where they should be getting angry at nature. It's just the way it is. Yeah. Fortunate Razor says, relationships are supposed to be about reciprocity. Hedonism is not really a criterion. E87 says, in addition to what humans said, women end most relationships. This is true if you look at the stats. They initiate like 70% of the divorces, for instance, and when a woman ends a relationship, she's often being checked out for many months or years. She's often being checked out for many months or years more. I don't know. Anyway, guys, a lot of really, really good questions. I can't have a read. Go in the comment section, have a read. And any final questions and we'll wrap up this stream. Just the Guy says, it's not that it's just a hobby. Some people don't have many options. That's true. But I think your options, the more you have a will to try and make your options exist in the real world by practicing them, especially the way you speak, like a good first step is to try and talk to people online like they were in front of you. Don't talk with a persona and act tough and be a troll, whereas in real life they punch you in the face. Like, that's a good first step. If you've only got online, try to be a decent person online. And then, like, because if you never practice it, if you're online all the time and you're just a troll, then what makes you think, you know, oh, well, in real life, I'll be able to be kind? No, you won't, because that's what you're practicing. It's the same as if you're out hooking up as a guy or a girl. You train yourself to do that, and then, like, you haven't exercised any other muscle. So I realize people have limited options, but where you can, try to be a better person. And if all you've got is online, be a better person online. Yeah, Donna says, nothing wrong with being a widow until the end. I remember some words about parting in death. Yeah. Remember, yeah, the marriage vows, till death do you part. Elusive Man says, my parents and grandparents are pushing that when are you going to get married card on me. I know what I want, but at the same time, I understand their desires for me. Yeah, they mean well. It can be irritating where they don't listen to you. That's where it annoys me, where they just push their wants on me flippantly and they discount anything I say. But if they listen to me and they acknowledge, and I could tell they wish the best for me, I can take that better than just drive by, just find the right person. It's all your fault. All right, guys. Good conversation you guys are having amongst yourselves. Remember, like, subscribe, join, support the channel, and I'll catch you in another video soon, and another live stream probably on Sunday. But just check in on the comment section, but I'll post an update. And for those of you with a microphone, feel free to jump on Discord. Yeah. Have a good weekend. All right? And I'll check you out later. Bye.